Right, second system that we're focusing on is going to be the visual system. So your eyes, the information that is coming in, because there's a link between visual and vestibular. So vision is a very complex phenomenon. Only 5% of this process is happening in the eyes itself. Every other aspect of vision is actually coming from touch, hearing, proprioception. So it's really a marriage of all the other sensory inputs when you're trying to optimize vision, and we'll call it visual acuity or visual literacy. Now, the touch aspect is really interesting, and the touch could be as thinking that there's a pen in your hand. So, and then technically there would be movement. So if you are reading something, and say you're reading a book and you want to remember what you're reading and you want to kind of stay focused while you're reading, is having a pen and underline as you're reading, taking notes on the side, circling words, right? So you can see how you're essentially bringing in more and more input systems is going to get even more out of that visual experience. So when I teach my workshops, that's why for everyone who's ever taken a workshop with me live, is I actually tell people, like, do you have your pen? You know, get a notebook. I don't care if you like take notes or you just doodle the whole time, and then you throw it away. I'm just trying to link sensory input systems to help those who are attending my workshops to get the most out of it, because we only remember like 10% of what we go over. So remember those little tricks. So now when we are processing vision, the images are actually coming into the eyes and they're turned upside down and they're crossing the other eye. So they're doing a cross and an upside down, and then the brain is smart enough to switch that around to actually know that something is upright. So it's a very complex action of what's happening from the visual input system. As I had mentioned, that 5% of vision is actually within the actual visual system, and then the rest of it is processed through other sensory information. To understand a little bit more, your eyes contain both rods and cones. You can think of the cones as the part of the eye that gives you color, but because we're focusing on cognitive function and learning and things like that, the cones are what's responsible for what's called foveal focus. So foveal focus is your ability to read and to coordinate the eyes to work together and read up close. Okay. Now, in that Smart Moves book, it was really interesting that Carla Hannaford spoke about this is usually not shaped until 7 years old. Now, it can happen earlier and develop sooner if a child is reads when they're younger. So let's say when they're 2, they're 3. A big part of how they're raised is that they are reading books from an earlier age, but it's kept very fun. There's no stress in this visual experience or the shaping of this foveal focus. Now, let's say if the child is in an environment where they haven't read books or haven't shaped that foveal focus by the time they start school, which is say 5 years old, and now they're pushed into reading and writing and into this forced foveal focus environment, their nervous system actually shifts into a sympathetic fight or flight kind of survival mode, which we know from part 1, shuts down the hippocampus. It starts to totally break down their ability to learn. So that's actually a big part of success in schools, is making sure that the demands that they're putting on these children is timed with where their brain and their sensory input systems are actually shaped. So that was really interesting as well. So now, big thing here when it comes to vision is the eyes must be constantly moving for learning to occur. So think of eye movements as still movements. So eye movement is helping to go into the basal ganglia. Remember, that's part of the limbic system. Limbic system is responsible for emotion and learning. So eyes moving is going to be a big, important part of that. Again, in Carla Hannaford's book, she speaks about when children have, like traumatic experiences at home, it translates into learning difficulties. They usually, are having a hard time learning in school, so they go to like special ed classes and things like that. And she said that she would notice a pattern in these children that their eyes would just be like stuck. She actually called it walleye, that their eyes would be focused like on one thing to the side versus like a natural movement of the eyes. And really the fact that their eyes were not moving would tie into what I was just saying, that you have to have movement, basal ganglia, for learning to occur. So really, really interesting. Also, real quick, with the fall reduction that I had said, the eyes have to constantly be moving for learning to occur, but your eyes have to be constantly moving for sensory information and for the coordination of balance. So there's eye movement exercises, and there's research around it for reducing falls in Parkinson's and MS and things like that. That's part 3 next week that we're focusing on that.